Imagine thinking everything is perfect, only to find out that the person you trusted most in the world is planning to leave you. On Christmas. My husband, the man I had been with for over a decade, the father of our children, told me he no longer loved me. But what he didn't know was, I wasn't going to let him go without a fight. And the surprise I had in store for him, it would change everything. Forever. Hi, my name's Lisa. I'm 36 years old, and I live in the suburbs of Chicago with my 2 kids, Emma and Noah. We've been through a lot, and I thought I had everything figured out until Christmas came along and everything came crashing down. You see, we've been together for 12 years, married for 8. And I never thought a day would come when I'd be looking at my husband, Sam, packing his bags. But that's exactly what happened. And trust me, you don't want to miss how it all unfolded. If you've ever felt betrayed by someone you loved, or if you think no one should walk away from their family, hit that subscribe button right now. And I want to know, have you ever been in a situation where you thought things were fine, but then something unexpected shattered everything? Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Let's get into this. I stood there, frozen. I couldn't believe it. Sam, the man I had given so much to, the one I thought I would grow old with, was telling me he didn't love me anymore. His words felt like a slap in the face. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but I was just numb. It was as if the life I had spent building was slipping through my fingers like sand, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I stared at him, struggling to process the shock. The Christmas lights twinkling in the background felt like a cruel reminder of everything we had lost. He wasn't even looking at me anymore. His back was turned, and he was methodically folding his clothes into a suitcase. He was so cold, so distant, and I couldn't understand why. I tried to speak, but my voice was barely a whisper. Sam, please don't do this. What about the kids? What about everything we've built? But he didn't even look at me. He just shrugged as if it didn't matter. I'm sorry, Lisa, he said, but I've made up my mind. And that was it. That was the moment everything changed. I remember walking away from him in that moment, heading to the living room where the kids were. Emma was sitting by the Christmas tree, excitedly opening up one of her presents. She looked up at me with those innocent eyes and said, "Mom, look. Santa brought me the toy I wanted." And in that moment I could hardly breathe. How could I be smiling for her when my whole world was falling apart? I went to the kitchen, sat down, and just stared at the walls. I didn't know what to do, what to feel. A part of me wanted to beg him to stay, but another part of me was angry. Angry at how easily he was walking away, at how he could just throw away everything we had for what? A selfish desire for something else. I didn't know how long I sat there. Could have been minutes or hours. But when I finally looked up, my eyes landed on something that made my heart stop. On the kitchen counter was my phone. I hadn't even thought about it in the chaos of it all. But now, as I sat there staring at the screen, I saw it. A message from his mother. "Sam said he's leaving you, Lisa. I think it's for the best. You've been struggling for too long." My stomach dropped. His own mother was saying it was for the best. She was agreeing with him. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. How had we gotten to this point? How had I become the woman whose husband was leaving her, with his own mother supporting his decision? Anger started to rise within me. How could they both turn their backs on me? On our family? I thought about everything I had sacrificed over the years. My career, my time, my dreams. All for this man, for this family. And this was how it ended. I didn't know what to do with all the emotions swirling inside me. It felt like I was drowning. But then a small, quiet voice in the back of my mind whispered, "No, this isn't the end. Not yet." And that's when I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to let him leave. I wasn't going to just sit back and let my family fall apart. If Sam wanted to leave, then he was going to have to see me fight for what was ours. But it wasn't going to be easy. I had to think, I had to plan. And in that moment I knew I had to get smart about it. I couldn't confront him just yet. If I was going to win, I had to be strategic. I had to make him see what he was throwing away. I wasn't just going to sit there and cry. No, I was going to take control. I was going to show him who I was. And he would regret ever thinking he could walk away from me. But I had to act fast. The clock was ticking. The holidays were upon us, and if I didn't do something soon, it would all be over. The kids, Sam, everything. So I started making plans. Sam thought I would beg him. He thought I was just going to crumble. But what he didn't know was that I was already taking steps that would make him regret every single thing he'd said to me. Stay with me because what I did next is going to blow your mind. And if you think I'm doing the right thing, make sure to hit that like button right now. And comment below. How would you handle it if your partner told you they were leaving on Christmas? Would you beg them to stay, or would you fight back like I did? I knew I had to get myself together, but I wasn't going to do it in the way Sam expected. He thought I would just cry, beg for his attention, or apologize for things that weren't even my fault. He had no idea what I was about to do. In the back of my mind, I kept telling myself, I'm not going to be the victim in this story. I'm going to take control of my own narrative. As soon as Sam left to grab some coffee, I knew this was my chance. I grabbed my phone, locked myself in the bathroom, and began doing something that would change everything. I didn't just call a friend for advice. I didn't just vent. No, I did something far more calculated. I called a lawyer. I know what you're thinking. Lisa, really? But trust me, when you've been pushed to the edge, you find a strength you never knew you had. I wasn't about to let Sam walk out of here and leave me with nothing. I wanted to make sure I knew exactly what my options were. No more surprises. I needed a plan, a strategy, something to show Sam that I wasn't helpless. While I was on the phone with the lawyer, I heard a knock on the bathroom door. It was Emma, asking me if we could open the last of the presents. I quickly wiped away my tears and opened the door, pretending everything was fine. She didn't deserve to see me falling apart, and I wasn't about to ruin her Christmas. Not today. Not on my watch. But as I sat there, holding my daughter's hand, I realized something. This wasn't just about Sam. It was about Emma. It was about Noah. They deserved better than this. They deserved a mother who wouldn't just let their father walk away without a fight. I couldn't let them see me crumble. I spent the next few hours organizing everything in my mind. What would make Sam realize what he was throwing away? How could I show him the life he was about to abandon? It wasn't just about the money or the house or the holidays. This was about dignity. It was about respect. And I was going to demand it, one way or another. Then the idea hit me. It was bold. It was risky. But it was perfect. I had been talking about buying a house for years. We had always dreamed of a bigger place, a home for the kids to grow into. But we could never afford it. Or so Sam thought. What if I could? What if I could do the one thing he thought was impossible without him? The one thing that would hit him harder than anything else. What if I bought the house next door? You see, we'd been eyeing a beautiful property just across the street for months. But Sam always told me it was out of our reach. Too expensive, unrealistic. But now, in this moment, I realized something. He was about to leave me, to destroy everything we built together. If he thought he could just walk away from me, then he needed to see that I could build something better on my own. I needed to show him that I wasn't just some passive wife. I was Lisa, a woman who could stand on her own 2 feet. I was going to take that house. I didn't waste time. I contacted the real estate agent, telling them I was ready to make an offer, even if it meant stretching my limits. I knew it would be a challenge, but I also knew I could do it. The idea of owning that house, of seeing Sam's face when he realized I had done it without him, filled me with a strange sense of power. It was my turn to take control. As I placed the call, I could hear Sam's voice in the other room. He was still packing. He hadn't even noticed that I was quietly making the biggest decision of my life. I kept the conversation short with the agent, letting them know I was ready to move forward. I had made up my mind. I was going to buy that house. But this wasn't just about real estate. This was about me reclaiming my life, my power, and my future. After hanging up, I walked into the living room, where Sam was now sitting on the couch, looking at his phone. He didn't even glance up at me as I entered. The nerve of him. It was almost as if I wasn't even there. I stood there for a moment trying to control my emotions. I wasn't about to cry anymore. I wasn't about to beg him to stay. Instead, I said the words that would change everything. I'm not going to just stand by and let you leave, Sam. I'm doing something about this. He looked up at me, surprised. What are you talking about? With a calmness I didn't even know I had, I replied. I just made an offer on the house next door. Sam blinked, his expression flickering with disbelief. What? You're kidding, right? I shook my head. No, I'm not kidding. And you're about to see just how serious I am. Stay with me because what happens next will absolutely blow your mind. Sam thought I was joking, but wait until you hear what happened after I made that move. If you're rooting for me, hit that like button now. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear how this story ends. Trust me, it's only getting started. Sam stared at me for a moment, not knowing whether to laugh or be angry. His face twisted in disbelief, like I had just told him I was moving to the moon. He laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. You're serious, huh? You think buying that house is going to fix everything? Like that's going to make me stay? But I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't laughing anymore. He was worried. And that was exactly what I needed to see. I could feel the power shifting in the room. For the first time in months, I wasn't the one begging for his attention or approval. I was the one in control. And Sam was realizing it. It wasn't just the house that scared him. It was the fact that I was standing up for myself. It was the fact that I wasn't depending on him anymore. I looked at him steady and firm and said, No, Sam. Buying this house doesn't fix everything, but it's a start. And you know what? I don't need you to make it work. I'm going to make this work for me and the kids. His face darkened. You're really going to go through with this, aren't you? He couldn't believe it. The thought of me doing something on my own without him, without his input, shocked him. And I could see it in his eyes. He thought I was weak. He thought I would always be the one who needed him. But in that moment, he realized something he didn't expect. I didn't need him. Not like that. I wasn't trying to hurt him. I wasn't trying to punish him. But I was showing him that I had a life beyond our marriage. And if he wasn't going to value me, if he wasn't going to fight for us, then I wasn't going to keep fighting for a relationship that he didn't even want anymore. He got up from the couch, pacing back and forth. I didn't ask for this, Lisa. I didn't ask for any of this. His voice was strained now, filled with frustration. But I stayed calm. I had a plan. And nothing he said was going to change that. I could see it on his face. He wanted to shout, to fight. But I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction. Instead, I calmly walked to the door, opening it. I was done talking. I needed him to understand that this was no longer up for debate. Sam, I don't need your approval. You made your choice. And now I'm making mine. I closed the door behind me, leaving him standing there in the living room. His jaw clenched, unable to say a word. I went upstairs to my room where Emma and Noah were still playing. They were excited for Christmas, unaware of the storm that had just hit our family. I sat down on the bed, trying to steady my breathing. I couldn't let them see how shaken I was. They needed me to be strong. Then, as if on cue, my phone rang. It was the real estate agent. Lisa, I have some good news for you. The seller accepted your offer. The house is yours. My heart skipped a beat. It was official. I had done it. I had taken control of my life, of my future. The house was mine, and there was no turning back. Sam thought he was leaving me behind, that he could just walk away from everything. But I wasn't the one who was going to be left behind. He was. I took a deep breath and whispered to myself, I'm doing this for me. For my kids. For my future. And in that moment, I realized something else. I didn't need his validation to be strong. I had been strong all along. It felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, but I knew the hardest part was still ahead. Sam had no idea what I had just done. But I wasn't ready to confront him just yet. I wanted to give him space. Let him stew in his own guilt for a little while. Let him think about the choice he had made. As the days went on, I focused on the kids. They were so happy about Christmas, and I didn't want to ruin that for them. Every time Emma and Noah smiled, I remembered why I had made that decision. To protect them, to make sure they grew up seeing a mother who was strong and unafraid to stand up for herself. But Sam, he wasn't making things easy. He started pulling away even more, spending less time at home. I could feel the tension growing between us, like a storm waiting to break. He was upset, but I wasn't backing down. He wanted to leave. Fine. But I wasn't going to beg him to stay. One evening, a few days after the offer on the house went through, I heard a knock on the door. I opened it to find Sam standing there, looking like a man who had been through hell. His eyes were red, and his face was tight with emotion. I knew what was coming, but I didn't prepare myself for what he was about to say. "Lisa, I've been thinking. Maybe I made a mistake," he said, his voice low and uncertain. I don't know what I was thinking when I said that. But I can't just walk away from everything. Part of me wanted to hear those words. I wanted to hear him say he was sorry, that he wanted to fight for our marriage. But another part of me, the part that had been through so much, knew better than to fall for empty promises. I stood there for a moment looking at him, weighing my options. I could have taken him back. I could have forgiven him, gone back to the life I thought we had. But I knew that would be a mistake. The trust had been broken. And while forgiveness was important, I wasn't ready to forget. "Sam, I've spent years supporting you, sacrificing my time and dreams for this family. But you've taken me for granted. You've taken us for granted. I can't just pretend everything is fine. Not after what you said." His face fell. He looked like a man who had just realized the full weight of what he had done. "I'm sorry, Lisa. I don't know what came over me. I was just lost." Here's the thing, he wasn't sorry for me. He was sorry for himself. He was sorry that he had pushed me too far. But what about the years of emotional neglect? What about the things he said, the way he treated me? I wasn't going to let him make me feel guilty for standing up for myself. I shook my head slowly. "I'm sorry, Sam, but this isn't about just you. This is about me. This is about me finding my strength, and me showing our kids what it means to stand up for yourself when the world tries to tear you down. I've already made my decision, and I'm moving forward, with or without you." For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. I knew I had made the right decision, and I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't afraid of being alone. I wasn't afraid of what Sam might think. I was doing this for me, and that felt stronger than anything. Sam stood there staring at me, his face a mixture of anger and regret. But there was nothing more he could say. The decision had been made. And then, just when I thought I had nothing left to give, I received another call. The real estate agent again. "Lisa, just letting you know the closing for the house next door is all set for next week. Everything is official. It's yours." I looked over at Sam. The color drained from his face. I knew in that moment he realized just how serious I was. He thought I was bluffing. But now there was no turning back. I had taken control of my future, and I was going to live it on my terms. The days leading up to the closing were a whirlwind. I barely had time to breathe between making sure everything was in order for the house, organizing the kids' schedules, and dealing with Sam's sudden mood swings. One minute he was apologizing, the next, he was angry and distant again. It was like he was trying to play me, but I wasn't falling for it. As the closing day approached, I could feel the tension building between us. Sam was trying his hardest to act like everything was fine, but I could see through him. He didn't want to leave. He just didn't know how to fix the mess he had created. And me. I wasn't interested in fixing it for him. I wasn't interested in being the person he ran back to when things didn't go his way. I had moved on. The night before the closing, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything that had happened, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the pain. But I also thought about how far I had come. How I had found my strength when I thought I had none left. And in that moment I realized something. No matter what happened next, I was going to be okay. I wasn't going to let anyone make me feel small again. I had found my voice, and I wasn't going to lose it. Sam came home late that night. I heard the door creak open and he walked in, his footsteps heavy. I didn't even look up from the kitchen counter. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what he was going to say. Sam stood behind me, quiet for a moment before he spoke. "Lisa, I've been thinking a lot. About us. About everything we've been through." His voice was soft, but there was something behind it, something desperate. "I don't want to lose you." I didn't turn around. Instead, I kept my eyes on the papers in front of me, the ones I had been filling out for the closing tomorrow. "Sam, I've heard this all before. And it's too late. I've already made my choice." I could hear the catch in his voice, the vulnerability that he rarely showed. "Please, Lisa. Messed up. I was wrong. Need you. Don't go through with this." I put the pen down and finally turned to face him. "You don't get it, do you? This isn't just about you. This is about me. About my life. About the future I'm building for myself and the kids. You don't get to just walk away and then come back and expect everything to be okay. It doesn't work like that." His face fell, his shoulders slumping in defeat. But I wasn't done. I wasn't going to let him twist this into something it wasn't. I walked toward the door. I opened it, stood in the doorway, and looked at him one last time. "Tomorrow I'm starting a new chapter. I don't need you to be a part of it, but if you want to try, you're going to have to earn it." And with that I closed the door, leaving him standing there, his hand outstretched, as if he could still change my mind. But the truth was, I had already made up my mind. There was no turning back. I was moving forward, and if Sam wanted to be a part of that, he was going to have to prove it. Can you believe what just happened? Sam was desperate, but I knew I had to keep my guard up. What do you think Sam's next move will be? Is there any chance of him fixing things, or has he already lost everything? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, if you're following this story and want to know what happens when I walk into that new house, hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss the next part of the story. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of calm that I hadn't felt in a long time. I knew that today was going to be a turning point. The closing for the house next door was scheduled for noon, and there was no turning back now. I was making this decision for me. No more living in Sam's shadow, no more compromising my happiness for a man who couldn't appreciate what I brought to the table. As I went through my morning routine, I could hear Sam moving around downstairs. I didn't need to check on him. I already knew what he was doing, trying to figure out a way to convince me to change my mind, to make it all go back to the way it was. But I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. I had made my decision, and there was no way he was going to take that from me. When I walked into the kitchen, Sam was sitting at the table, his hands folded in front of him. He looked up at me, and for the first time in days, there was a softness in his eyes. I could tell he was trying to be vulnerable, trying to reach out. But I wasn't sure if I could trust him anymore. Not after everything he'd said, not after everything he'd done. "Lisa," he began, his voice unsteady, "I know I messed up. And I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I want to make things right. I don't want to lose you. I never should have said those things. I was scared and I took it out on you. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to fix this." His words stung. I could hear the sincerity in his voice, but the pain of his betrayal still lingered. And in that moment I realized something important. I didn't need his apology. I didn't need him to fix this. I had already fixed myself. I had found my strength, and I wasn't going to let his mistakes define me anymore. I looked at him, my heart heavy with the years of sacrifice, love, and pain we had shared, and I said, "Sam, I'm not sure I can ever go back to what we were. What you said to me, it cut deeper than you know. You made me feel like I wasn't enough. And I can't keep living in that space. His face fell, and I could see the realization in his eyes. The truth was, I had already moved on. I was no longer waiting for him to love me the way I deserved to be loved. I had learned to love myself in ways I hadn't in years. The house, the kids, everything was a part of this new chapter one was writing for myself. And Sam. He was just a part of the past. "I don't want to hurt you, Lisa," he said, his voice breaking. "I never wanted to. But I know I did. I just need you to believe me." I stood there, my hands shaking, but I held my ground. "Sam, you've had your chance. I don't need to be your second choice. I'm not your backup plan. I'm moving forward. And if you want to be a part of this new life, you're going to have to earn it. But I'm not waiting around for you to make up your mind." Sam looked at me. His expression a mixture of regret and frustration. But there was no going back. The door was closed. I had already stepped through it. Without saying another word, I turned and grabbed my bag. It was time to go. Can you believe Sam's reaction? Do you think there's still a chance for him and Lisa? Or is it too late for him to win her back? I want to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. As I made my way to the car, I felt a sense of peace wash over me, a peace I hadn't known in months. Sam's words, his pleas for forgiveness, they all felt so distant now. I wasn't the same woman I had been when this whole thing started. I wasn't the woman who begged for his love, who would have done anything to keep our family together. I was someone new, someone stronger. As I drove to the bank, preparing for the final step of the house deal, I couldn't help but think about the past few weeks, the emotional roller coaster, the shock, the hurt. But as each minute passed, I felt more and more certain of my decision. It was the right one. I wasn't doing this to spite Sam. I wasn't doing this to make him jealous. I was doing this for me, for my kids. I had spent too long living in the shadows of someone else's decisions. Now it was my turn to step into the light. By the time I arrived at the bank, the reality of it all hit me. This wasn't just about buying a house. This was about taking back control of my life, of my future. The house was more than just a property, it was a symbol of my freedom, of my independence. It was my declaration that I was moving forward, no matter what Sam or anyone else thought. I signed the final papers with shaking hands, and when I was done, the agent handed me a set of keys. The keys to my new life. I walked out of that bank with a sense of accomplishment, knowing that I had done something for myself, for the first time in years. The old me, the one who had been willing to put up with Sam's neglect, had died. This new woman, the one who could stand on her own 2 feet, had emerged. As I drove back home, I could feel the weight of the past lifting from my shoulders. The house was mine now. And with it, I was going to build a life for me and my kids that was filled with love, peace, and security. I didn't need Sam to validate me. I didn't need anyone to tell me I was worthy. I had already proven that to myself. When I walked through the door, Emma and Noah were playing in the living room, their laughter filling the air. It was the sound I had been waiting for. The sound of joy, of innocence, of new beginnings. They looked up at me with wide eyes, and I smiled, trying to hide the tears that threatened to spill. This was it. This was my new beginning. And I wasn't going to let anyone take it from me. Sam was nowhere to be seen. He was out, probably trying to figure out what to do next. And I didn't care. What mattered was that I had taken control of my life. And I wasn't looking back. Wow, can you believe how everything turned out? Lisa took control of her life in a way that was truly empowering. But now the question is, what will happen when Sam finds out? Do you think there's any chance of reconciliation? Or is this the end? Comment below with your thoughts and hit that like button if you think Lisa made the right choice. Don't forget to subscribe. Days passed, and I began to settle into the new rhythm of my life. The kids were adjusting to the idea of our new home, and I was finally feeling like I could breathe again. But there was still a part of me that kept wondering if Sam was going to show up at my door, asking for another chance. I couldn't shake the thought of him coming back and trying to undo everything I'd worked so hard to build. But deep down, I knew I couldn't go back to what we had. It was just a week after I moved into the new house when I got the text. My heart skipped a beat when I saw it was from Sam. "I need to talk to you. Please." I stared at the screen for what felt like forever. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to tell him I had moved on and didn't need to hear from him anymore. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to hear what he had to say, even if I wasn't going to give him the answers he wanted. I replied with a simple, "Where?" And within minutes, he suggested we meet at the coffee shop we used to go to together before everything fell apart. As I walked into the coffee shop, my heart was racing. I couldn't tell if I was nervous or just curious about what Sam had to say. He was already sitting at a table, looking lost in thought. I could see the weight of his regret in the way he held himself. His shoulders slumped, his eyes hollow. As I sat down across from him, I didn't say a word. I just waited for him to speak, to explain himself. He didn't waste any time. "Lisa," he began, his voice soft but shaky, "I've been doing a lot of thinking. About everything. About us. I've realized that I made the biggest mistake of my life when I pushed you away." I couldn't believe my ears. This was the same man who had coldly told me he didn't love me anymore. This was the same man who had packed his bags and walked out the door on Christmas. And now he was sitting here, asking for another chance. Was I supposed to just forgive him? I looked at him, my heart still raw from everything he had put me through. "Sam, you don't get to just walk in here and expect everything to be fixed with a few words. I don't work that way." He looked at me with pleading eyes. I know. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve another chance. But I want to change. I want to be the man I promised you I'd be. I want to make things right." His words for a moment sounded sincere. But I couldn't ignore the voice inside me that told me to be careful. To not let his regret become a reason to settle for less than what I deserved. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. "Sam, you had your chance. You walked away from me. You made me feel worthless. And I won't go back to that." I could see the pain in his eyes, the realization that I wasn't going to take him back so easily. "I didn't want to hurt you, Lisa. I was just lost. I didn't know what I had until it was gone." At that moment, something inside me clicked. I realized that this wasn't about Sam trying to fix things. This was about me standing up for what I deserved. And I deserved more than someone who only came back when they realized they'd made. I stood up, my heart pounding in my chest, but my resolve stronger than ever. "I'm not your second choice, Sam. And I'm not going to sit here and listen to you make promises you may not keep. I've moved on. And I'm going to keep moving forward. With or without you." I turned and walked out of the coffee shop, feeling the weight of the decision settle in my chest. I had said what needed to be said. I had finally let go. And in doing so, I realized something even more powerful. I wasn't just moving on from Sam. I was moving on from a life that no longer served me. I was choosing myself. After walking out of that coffee shop, I felt a sense of relief. I wasn't angry, I wasn't bitter. I was free. For the first time in months, I wasn't chained to the past. I had made my decision and I was sticking to it. Sam had pushed me to a point where I had no choice but to choose myself, and now I knew there was no turning back. As the days passed, I started to settle into my new life. The kids were happier, I was more at peace, and I finally had the space to think clearly. I began focusing on things I had neglected for so long. I started taking time for myself. Small things like reading a book, taking walks in the neighborhood, and getting back to the things I loved before everything changed. But just when I thought I had a handle on things, something unexpected happened. It was a Saturday morning, and I was in the kitchen making breakfast when I heard the doorbell ring. I wasn't expecting anyone, and when I opened the door, my breath caught in my throat. Standing there was Sam, with his eyes full of uncertainty, but also something else, something more sincere. He wasn't alone this time. He had someone with him. His mother, Maria, stood behind him, her arms crossed, her face serious. She had been the one who had told him to leave me, the one who had supported his decision to walk away from our family. And now she was here with him, standing on my doorstep. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I had already made it clear to Sam that I wasn't going to forgive him right away. But seeing his mother there after everything she had said, made something inside me snap. Sam spoke first, his voice quiet but firm. "Lisa, I've come to apologize. Not just for what I did but for the way I treated you. And I brought my mom because I think it's time she sees the woman I've been taking for granted all these years." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Maria was the one who had helped him make the decision to leave me. And now she was standing here, offering her apology. I didn't know how to feel. Was this genuine? Or was this just another way for Sam to try and make himself feel better? I stood there, processing everything. Maria spoke next, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it before. "Lisa, I know I made mistakes. I didn't realize what you were going through. I've been wrong about you, about everything. And I can't take back the hurt I caused, but I can say I'm sorry." Her words were unexpected, but I wasn't sure if I could trust them. After everything she had said about me, about our family, could I really forgive her? Could I really forgive Sam? I looked at them both, and I took a deep breath. I don't need your apologies. I don't need your forgiveness. What I need is respect. I've spent too many years trying to make everyone else happy, trying to make things work for people who didn't appreciate me. Paused, my heart pounding. I've given enough. Now it's time for me to move forward. Sam looked crushed, his eyes filled with regret. His mother, on the other hand, looked like she understood. She didn't say anything else, just nodded and turned away. Sam stood there for a moment longer before finally saying, "I'm sorry, Lisa. I hope one day you'll forgive me." But I wasn't ready to forgive yet. Not in the way they thought. I had forgiven myself already. I had learned to let go, to stop holding on to something that wasn't healthy for me anymore. As I closed the door behind me, I realized that this was the final step. This was the moment where I had fully let go of Sam, of everything that had kept me stuck in that toxic cycle. I was free now, completely and entirely. Now I could truly move forward. For me. For Emma. For Noah. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. Can you believe the twist? Do you think Sam and his mother's apologies were genuine, or were they just trying to ease their guilt? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you're rooting for Lisa's new chapter, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe because the journey is far from over. You won't want to miss what happens next. After Sam and his mother left, I felt something shift inside of me. It wasn't just the relief of finally standing up for myself. It was the peace that comes with knowing you've made the right choice. I wasn't looking for apologies anymore. I wasn't waiting for anyone to come and fix what had been broken. I had already begun fixing myself. And that was more than enough. The weeks that followed were a blur of packing, settling into the new house, and creating a life for me and the kids that felt, for the first time in years, like it was truly mine. I started to put down roots, figuratively and literally. I worked on the house, making it a place where I felt safe, where I felt like I belonged. The kids were happy, and I was starting to breathe again. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. One afternoon, as I was cleaning up after lunch, I heard a knock on the door. My heart sank before I even opened it. I knew who it was before I even saw his face. Sam stood there, his posture defeated, his eyes full of regret. This time he didn't have his mother with him. It was just him, alone, with no one to hide behind. He looked different. He had lost the confident edge he had once had, the one that made me feel like I wasn't enough. Now he seemed vulnerable. And I could see the weight of his choices in the way he stood there. "Lisa, I know you're probably sick of hearing from me," Sam said, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. "But I need you to hear me out, just one more time." I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at him, trying to process everything. Why was he back? Was he here to apologize again, or was he hoping I'd change my mind? But I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of thinking I would. I had already made my peace with what had happened. "I'm listening," I finally said, keeping my voice steady. "But understand this. I'm not going to make things easy for you this time." He nodded, his eyes searching mine, like he was looking for something that wasn't there anymore. "I know I don't deserve another chance. And I know I've hurt you beyond what I can fix with just words. But I want to make things right, Lisa. I want to show you that I've changed. I want to be the man I was always meant to be. One you could rely on. One you could trust." His words hit me in a way I didn't expect. A part of me wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that maybe he had truly changed, that maybe he had learned from his mistakes. But another part of me, the part that had been hurt so many times, knew better. I had given Sam everything I had before, and he had thrown it away. I stepped back, not letting myself get too close to him. "Sam," I said, my voice firm, "I've already moved on. I've already healed. I don't need you to fix me. What I need is someone who respects me, who doesn't walk away when things get hard." Sam's face twisted with pain, and I could see the tears welling up in his eyes. He opened his mouth to speak, but I held up my hand, stopping him. "Sam, I'm not going to be the person you turn to when things go wrong. I've spent too many years being that person for you. I deserve better than that." His shoulders slumped as the realization hit him. I could see the hurt on his face, but this time it didn't make me feel sorry for him. It made me feel proud of myself. Proud that I was finally standing up for the woman I had become. Proud that I wasn't going to settle for anything less than the love and respect I deserved. "I've let you go, Sam," I said quietly. "And it's time for you to let me go too." He stood there for a long moment, looking like he was holding on to something he couldn't reach. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel a shred of regret. What do you think? Was Sam's apology enough for Lisa to reconsider? Or did she make the right call by letting go? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe Lisa is finally free to live her life on her own terms, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you won't want to miss the next chapter, because things are about to get even more intense. After Sam left, I felt like I had just crossed a bridge that I never thought I'd make it across. The weight on my shoulders seemed to lighten just a little bit more. I was free. But there was still something lingering in the back of my mind, something I couldn't shake. Sam's return, his words, his regrets, they had stirred something inside of me. But that wasn't the life I wanted anymore. I had worked too hard to get to this point to let it slip away. As the days passed, I focused even more on creating a stable, happy home for the kids. I poured my energy into making the new house ours, making it a place where we could make new memories and forget about the past. Emma and Noah were thriving. They had settled into their new rooms, and every morning, they woke up excited to see what the day would bring. They had no idea how much their mother had fought to give them this life. And I would protect it with everything I had. But, of course, nothing is ever simple. A week later, I got a call from the lawyer. I had been busy organizing the house, making sure the kids were happy, when my phone rang. The lawyer's name flashed across the screen, and my heart skipped a beat. I hadn't expected to hear from them again so soon. I answered it with a sense of curiosity but also dread. "Lisa," the lawyer began, "there's been a complication with the house next door. There's an issue with the paperwork that needs to be resolved before we can finalize the sale." My stomach dropped. I had put everything I had into buying that house. It wasn't just about the house itself. It was about everything I had built. About the life I was trying to create. I needed it to work. "What kind of complication?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's an issue with the title, a mix-up with the property boundaries. Nothing too serious, but it might delay the closing by a few weeks," the lawyer explained. "We'll need to get everything sorted out before we can move forward." A few weeks. That wasn't too bad. But for me it felt like a lifetime. The uncertainty, the doubt, it was all too much. I had already come so far. I had already stepped out of the shadows of my past. I wasn't about to let this setback stop me from moving forward. I had to stay strong. For me. For the kids. As I hung up the phone, I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. I couldn't let this setback derail everything I had worked so hard for. I had to stay focused. The house would be mine. It was just a matter of time. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play here. Was this just an obstacle? Or was the universe telling me something? I didn't have time to question it too much. I had already come so far. And I wasn't going to let this delay stop me from finishing what I had started. I turned around and looked at the kids, who were busy building a fort in the living room. Their laughter filled the house, and in that moment, I knew I had made the right choice. They were my motivation. Everything I did from here on out was for them. To give them a better life, a better future. Sam's presence in our lives, for better or worse, had forced me to find a strength I didn't even know I had. And now, as I looked around my new home, I realized just how much I had achieved on my own. This house, this life, it was mine. And I wasn't about to let anything or anyone take that away from me. Wow, what do you think? A setback with the house. That's the last thing Lisa needs right now. But she's determined to move forward. Do you think she'll face more challenges? Or will she overcome them? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this journey with Lisa, hit that like button and subscribe for more updates. Trust me, the next chapter is going to be even more intense. You don't want to miss it. As the weeks went by, I kept my head down and focused on the things that mattered most. My kids, my new life, and my own peace of mind. The house was still in limbo, but I wasn't letting that hold me back. I had already come so far. Nothing could stop me now. The feeling of freedom, of finally taking control of my life, was worth more than anything Sam had ever promised me. I spent every day working to make this place ours. I decorated, organized, and turned it into a home, a sanctuary for me and the kids. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And that felt like a victory in itself. Then one afternoon, as I was sitting in the living room, the phone rang again. My heart skipped a beat when I saw the number on the screen, the lawyer. I knew this call could either make or break everything I had worked for. I took a deep breath and answered it. Hello. Lisa, I'm calling to let you know that everything has been cleared up with the paperwork for the house. We're ready to move forward. The closing is set for next week. For a moment, I couldn't speak. I felt a rush of emotions flood through me. Relief, excitement, pride, it was all too much. This wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about everything I had done for myself. Everything I had accomplished on my own. Thank you, I managed to say, my voice shaking slightly. Thank you for everything. I hung up the phone, standing there in the middle of my new home, feeling a sense of accomplishment I hadn't known I was capable of. I had done it. I had gotten through the betrayal, the heartbreak, the doubt. And now I was standing on the other side. Stronger, more confident, and ready to face whatever came next. That evening, as I tucked Emma and Noah into bed, I kissed them both on the forehead and whispered, "We're going to be okay. We're going to be better than okay." And in that moment, I realized that my life wasn't defined by Sam, or by what he did to me. My life was defined by what I chose to do next. And I was choosing to live it on my own terms. Sam's chapter in my life was over. And while I had forgiven him, I wasn't going to let him hold any more space in my heart. He had made his choice. And now I was making mine. I was done being the person who needed him to be happy. I was finally happy on my own. The next day, I drove past the house I had fought so hard for, my new home. I smiled as I saw the kids playing outside, their laughter filling the air. It was everything I had dreamed of, and it was mine. As I walked up the steps, I realized something that filled me with a deep sense of peace. I didn't need anyone to tell me I was enough. I knew it now. As the weeks passed and everything began to settle, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for how far I had come. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving. I had built something new for myself and my children, and it felt like the world was opening up in ways I never imagined. The kids were doing well in school, making new friends, and enjoying the new home. Emma was even starting to feel comfortable enough to invite her friends over. And Noah was spending his afternoons riding his bike around the neighborhood. They were happy, and that was all that mattered. One evening, as I was sitting on the porch with a cup of tea, I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened. The pain, the struggle, the heartache. But also the strength I had found along the way. For so long I had lived for everyone else. Making sure Sam was happy, the kids were okay, the house was running smoothly. I had given everything I had, and somewhere along the way I had lost myself. But now I was finally getting back to the person I had always been. Strong, resilient, and determined. Just then I heard a car pull up. I didn't think much of it at first, but when I looked up, I saw Sam walking toward me slowly. He wasn't in a hurry, and there was no rush in his steps. He had his hands in his pockets, and his face was somber. For a second I thought about ignoring him. After all, he had made his choice. But there was something about the way he was walking, the way he looked at me, that made me want to hear what he had to say. I stood up and waited for him to approach. When he finally did, he stopped a few feet away, looking at me with an expression I couldn't read. "Lisa," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, and I'm not asking for that. But I need to say one last thing." Part of me wanted to shut the door, to walk away and leave him standing there. But I had already come this far, and I owed it to myself to hear him out. "Go ahead," I said, keeping my distance. I wasn't sure if I was ready for whatever he had to say, but I was willing to listen. He took a deep breath and seemed to gather himself before speaking again. "I'm sorry for everything. For how I treated you, for the way I walked away, for everything I did wrong. I see now that I was selfish. I never understood the sacrifices you made for me, for this family. But I see it now, and I'm truly sorry." His words were heavy, and I could see the sincerity in his eyes. But I also saw something else, regret. And I knew then that Sam wasn't just apologizing to me. He was apologizing to himself. He was finally facing the reality of what he had done. I looked at him for a long time before I spoke. "Sam, I've forgiven you. Have to. For me. But I'm not going to forget what happened. And I'm not going to let you back into my life like nothing ever happened." He nodded, looking down at the ground, accepting that reality. "Understand, Lisa. And I don't expect you to take me back. I just wanted you to know that I've learned from my mistakes. And I hope you find happiness. You deserve it." With that, he turned and walked away. And as I watched him go, I realized that it was over. For good. Sam had finally let go, and so had I. And that's it, my friends. Lisa's story is a reminder that we are all capable of standing up for ourselves, no matter how difficult it may seem. If you've ever fought for your happiness, or if you believe in the power of choosing yourself, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because stories like this don't end here. There's always more to come, and I want you to be there for it.